There's this concept of inside out growth that I've been talking a lot about lately, particularly with owners of service-based industries like professional services like CPAs and lawyers and architects. And these types of companies have been told about growth for a really, really long time, but they've been told about it in the wrong way. Every business book that you've read when you're in a service-based business talks about growth, and they were talking specifically about top-line growth. This happened to me primarily in my property management business, which is also a service-based business that is professional, and I kept on looking at top line and thinking that's where I wanted to go because every business book I read said that I needed to grow my top-line revenue, but with top-line revenue comes more headaches because the bigger the company, your skill set needs to evolve. And my skill set just couldn't evolve fast enough to grow at the rate that the company was growing because instead of fulfillment, I was dealing more with management and people, and it just wasn't a spot where I knew exactly what to do. I hadn't developed that skill set yet. And I got trapped in this fallacy of more. And months and months and months of working 14-hour days and missing making it home for dinner and skipping days at the gym when I really should have gone couldn't possibly dig me out of that hole. Don't get me wrong, I wanted more. Like I wanted more for myself. I wanted more for my company. But I didn't want more revenue. And that's the weird part because that's what everybody had told me that that's really what you want. You want more revenue. I wanted more, but what I really wanted was I wanted more profit and I wanted more cash without more customers. See, that's the game of inside out growth. Growth doesn't happen like in a way of going up in terms of building the company bigger. That's a way, it's not the way. And you've got to have fulfillment systems behind it that are ready to run at the scale of growth if you're putting a lot of fuel on it. Like if you're doing a lot of ads, if you're doing a lot of native content and customers are just coming to you right and left, it can break your fulfillment systems if you don't have that there. That's exactly what happened in that property management business where it was basically like there were a number of gaps in our systems. And because of the gaps in our systems, look at it like a tumor. If there's a tumor in your body, the tumor just grows and grows and grows and grows and becomes a bigger problem the bigger it grows. And when you've got problems in a small company, like sub $2 million, we'll call it, those problems are going to get amplified the bigger that company gets. And so you've got to solve those problems in the operational sense when they are small, because that way you can grow from there and the size of that tumor will basically just disappear with the top line growth of the company. And so when I started looking at it from an inside out model versus an outside in, growing our profit and our cash on the same amount of customers, that really opened my eyes because it required me to look at the business differently, more from an effectiveness standpoint. Because that's all that profit really is. I mean, it's an effectiveness measure between your revenue and what you take home. And so understanding that I needed to grow profit at all costs, it made me look at my systems differently. It made me manage my team differently. And it made me manage my cash flow in an entire new way and how much I had to be on top of it in order to affect what I was looking to affect. Going through this process for about 6 months, what I found when I started really focusing on the internal operations versus the outside growth, because I'd read all the books that you read and I'd watched all the videos that you've watched about how to do advertising and marketing, and like a lot of it works. Like I got good at doing that stuff, but I ended up breaking myself in the process. And obviously I don't want that to happen to you, which is why I'm taking the time to record this video. But what happened to me over 6 months as I started looking at this inside out growth model is that profit went up by 20% and cash went up by 30%. And so knowing that those things are true, then that allowed me to, one, see the efficiency, that I could go to scale and that I could add more growth from the outside to the inside. But finding that took a lot of pick and shovel work. So if you choose to grow from the inside out, which I would recommend everybody does before looking from the outside in. Obviously, you got your first batch of customers because if you don't have any revenue, you don't really have a company, you've got a hobby. So you've got to get your first batch of customers. That's got to come from the outside. But once you hit like 500,000 in top line revenue, that's the time to start looking from the inside out, because you're going to have inefficiencies that once those inefficiencies get resolved, then you're going to be able to grow a lot faster from the outside. But handle your own house first. Like, if there has to be a message for this entire video, is handle your own house. And once you handle your own house and you've got that in order, then you can go out and you can conquer other kingdoms. How's that? All right, guys, that's what I got for you today. Hopefully that gave you some perspective, some insight on really this inside out growth model that proves to be much more effective at putting money in your pocket rather than just churning through it inside of your business. So if that gave you something, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and give me a comment under this video on something that you got away from it. Just what's your biggest takeaway, and what are you going to do about it in the next 24 to 48 hours? Just needs to be the simplest action. So if you took something away from this, comment in below what exactly that's going to be for you to do in the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll be back with more content for you soon.